going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Afsal Hussain. For those of you that are new here, please consider subscribing. I hit 1,000 subscribers last week, so I just want to say to every single person watching this and to everyone who has subscribed, thank you so much. It means a lot. You know, 2 months ago I was on less than 100 subscribers and now we're on 1,000, going to 2,000, then hopefully 10,000, 100,000, a million plus. Now, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. Thank you for watching my videos. Thank you for hitting the like button, subscribe, sharing it and all of that. It's always appreciated and it means a lot, so thank you. So on the back of the recent growth of the channel, I've had a lot of LinkedIn requests, and for those of you that aren't following me on LinkedIn, do feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. I've actually maxed out my connections on LinkedIn, so they only let you have 30,000 connections, and I've hit that, so now they do unlimited followers, so feel free to check out my LinkedIn and follow it. I've got 37,000 followers on LinkedIn, and I share lots of useful information, posts on interview tips, advice, assessment center tips, deadlines for applications, lots of useful information more frequently than I upload on YouTube, so do check out LinkedIn. And that brings me on to Instagram. If you are on Instagram, do follow me on Instagram as well. What I do and what I'm going to be doing forward is giving my Instagram followers the choice to choose what videos I create. So a few days ago I put up a poll asking, should I create my next video on how to tell if an interview is going well, or should I create a video, or my next video, on how to network? And the networking one got more votes, and so I'm creating that now, and so it will be uploaded before the how to tell if an interview is going well. So if you're not following me on Instagram, follow me there. It's Afsal Hussain, and yeah, drop me a message and I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. In today's video, we are going to be speaking about networking. Now, when we hear networking, oftentimes we all get scared. We think, oh no, networking is daunting, it's scary, I'm rubbish at it, I'm not good at it. And to be fair, I want to demystify the whole term networking, because personally I don't like the term. When you hear networking, and I know a lot of people, especially when I was in the city, a lot of people think of networking and they just go in there like it's a competition, and they, you know, they think, all right, this person's going to be at this event, I need to go there and get this from them, get this, do this, do this, do that. But that's the wrong way to view and approach networking. If whenever you hear the word networking, just completely ignore that and change it into relationship building. Because more than anything, first of all, every single one of us, you and me and everyone who is alive, is a good networker. They just don't know it. And the reason I say that is because all you've got to do is think of your 2 or 3 closest friends, or your group of friends. How did you become friends with them? It didn't happen like that. It wasn't magic. You actually networked and you became friends. If we substitute the word networking again for relationship building, you met your friends and you built relationships, right? So what happened? When you met your friends, you naturally connected and spoke to people who you felt you can relate to. And from that, you realized there was a connection, you got on with each other and you built a relationship. That is literally networking on a social basis. Now, networking on a professional basis is very similar. It's just they call it networking, there's usually some canapes and drinks, and it's in a formal environment. But that doesn't have to be the case. And so I want to demystify some of the myths, and I want to give you some of the best tips and hints that I've discovered over the years and how to get the most out of networking. Okay, so let's get straight into it. Tip number 1 is view networking as relationship building rather than this thing where you just go meet people and use and abuse them. You're not going to meet someone that you're interested in and ask them to marry you straight away. So why would you go to a networking event and ask someone for a job within 30 seconds of meeting them? You won't. So view networking as relationship building, and it's a process where you get to know someone and then you might connect with them, email them, have an interaction with them, go for a coffee, get to know them and build a relationship, rather than meet someone and try and just take. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2, for every student going to these insight events or networking events, or in general, anyone that's going to a networking event or going to an event where you're not expecting to be networking, always just have your elevator pitch ready. So basically, what do I mean by your elevator pitch? Have a 30-second to 1-minute introduction telling the person about you. Hi, my name is Afsal Hussain. I study XYZ at XYZ University, and I'm really interested in a career in these industries. That's it. Simple, to the point. Give them a bit more color so they know who you are. An introduction is very important, and a strong introduction is very, very important. So make sure you have your elevator pitch ready. Tip number 3. relatability is super important. You might be at a networking event or you might not be at a networking event, and you'll meet different individuals. It's super important to focus on the relationships or the individuals that you connect with well, the people that you can relate to, because there's no point forcing a relationship, because it's just not going to work out. They're not going to want to help you as much, and you're not going to want to help them as much. So when you meet people, and it's happened to me so often, I go to networking events or I meet people throughout the industry or throughout my life, and I start talking to them, and if I think, you know what, this person, I don't really connect with them, I can't relate to them, I think they're cool, they're interesting, but I just don't think I'm going to vibe with them or get on with them, respect that, and then just end the conversation sooner rather than later, and then thank them for their time, and then just get on and try and meet new people, meet more people. And when I do find someone that I am super interested in, and I find them really interesting, and I definitely relate to them, and I feel like they're giving off the same energy, those are the relationships and connections that I pursue, and those are the ones that I usually get the most value and benefit from. So always focus on the connections where you feel more connected, you feel more related to the individual, and you naturally feel like you both click and get on going forward. Tip number 4, basic psychology, right? People love talking about themselves. So your job when you're meeting people for the first time, especially if you're an introvert, if you're nervous, if you're shy, flip it on them. Ask them the questions, get them talking about themselves. Because individuals, whether it's in banking, law, finance, tech, whatever industry it is, media, marketing, individuals for the most part love talking about themselves. So stick it on them. What do? You know, how did you get to where you are today? What brings you here today? What do you most like about your current role? What do you want to do 5 years from now? Just ask people questions, and yeah, get the person talking. Because if you're nervous, you want to do less talking, more listening. And then when you're listening attentively, and when you're a good listener, you can feed back on an email. When you reach out to them, you can tell them, I really liked what you said about so and so, or what you said about this and that stood out. So it shows them you were listening. So if you're nervous, get the person in front of you talking, because people love talking about themselves. Don't forget that. That brings me on to tip number 5. This is something that most people don't actually do. Leveraging your network. So me and you, we have friends, we've got lots of people that we know in different fields, industries, students, studying different things. That's our network, right? They all have networks, yeah? So that broadens the scope so much more. Leverage that. Like, ask your friends, do you know someone in this industry? Do you know someone doing this? I'm applying for this role, do you know anyone in this organization? Leverage your network, because so if you go to Google and you search the strength of weak ties, so I forgot who wrote it, but there's this theory where it focuses on the strength of weak ties. So you have your immediate friends and family, those are strong connections or strong ties, right? And then you have their connections, so they can put you in touch with other people, right? Those are often more beneficial than your immediate connections, because when they can introduce you to someone that they know, there's a mutual benefit for all 3 parties. So make sure you're taking advantage of your network, because that just opens and broadens the scope of the people you can meet and connect with. And you never know who can be that person that gives you the right role, the right opportunity, the right job, or the right connection. And it might be in your brother's connections, or it might be in your sister's or your best friend's connections. So network, so leverage that. Okay, tip number 6. This is a good one. I used to do this a lot when I was at university. I used to not be confident enough to go and approach someone on my own at first. So what I did was I found my wingman or wingwoman. Networking is easier in groups, so make sure you understand that and make sure you take advantage of that. When it's you and your best friend, or you and a friend or a colleague, you know, when it's you and someone else, or you and a group of individuals, I would encourage it's you and someone else rather than a group, because you don't want to swarm an employee, because they might think, oh god, it's too many people to talk to. If it's you and your friend approaching someone at a networking event, it is 100 times more relaxed and 100 times easier to make it less daunting and less hassle for you to build up the confidence and approach this individual. So find your wingman or wingwoman, whoever that is, whether that's your best friend, whether that's a friend that's interested in the same career as you. Find that person, and whether you're going to networking events or you're at these different events and you see someone you want to approach, take your best friend or that colleague or friend with you, and you'll find it so much more easier to do that. So tip number 6 is find your wingman or your wingwoman. Okay, that brings me on to tip number 7. This is very important because most people don't understand this, and it's very, very annoying, especially when you're in the industry and you've got lots of students coming with this approach. Don't just take. Make sure you give first. Let me say that again. Don't just take, make sure you give first. A lot of people go to these networking events and they see individuals who are in positions that they want to be in, and they just want to take. To just ask them, can you do this for me? Can you review my CV? Can you review my cover letter? Can you come here to have a coffee with me? Just so many, can you do this, please? You don't want to be that person, because why should they do that for you? If you're someone in the industry, you've got 100 students coming at you with the same question and the same asks. How do you as a student differentiate yourself? You don't want to just take. Offer the person something first. Try and give. Oftentimes students get confused, like they ask themselves, how can I give something to a professional in the industry? I'm of no value. But you are. Have you heard of reverse mentorship? It's where senior people in the industry are being mentored by junior people in the industry or students, because a lot of senior people in the industry are out of touch with what millennials and young people want, the world surrounding them. And so reverse mentorship is a thing that's growing in the city. As a person going to a networking event, what can you give? It's simple. It's so simple. Basically, the employee has just finished 12 hours in the office. The last thing they want to talk about is work. So what you can give them is a relaxed and enjoyable conversation. If you're into football, if you're into tennis, whatever you're into, bring that up in the conversation. See what they're interested in, and if you both click or if you both have similar interests, talk about that. Networking does not need to be about work. It doesn't need to be about all this professional talk and chit chat. The best connections and the best relationships and networks that I've grown and realized are from having relaxed and just down to earth random conversations. And then later on, when you have further meetings, you can talk about business or existing or new opportunities. But more than anything, give them a relaxed conversation. Give them someone who's genuinely interested, genuinely curious, and someone who asks good questions. If you can give an employee that, then naturally they are going to want to help you, because they see this student or this graduate isn't like every single other graduate who just wants to take. They are being genuine, they're interested, they come across like they're curious, and they are a decent human being. And so I'm more inclined to help that individual. So have that approach. Don't just take, give first. Okay, tip number 8. Don't be that one student who goes to a networking event and asks for business cards within 30 seconds of meeting each employee. If you're going to ask for business cards, ask for them right at the end of your conversation with that person. You can say something like, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. I've learned a lot and I would love to stay in touch. Do you have a business card? Something like that. Just work on your outro and your request for a business card. If you've got a business card, do feel free to give it to them, but make sure you email them. So the follow-up is super important. And that's tip number 8, which brings me on to tip number 9, which is follow-up emails. Make sure if you get a business card of someone, or if you get their contact details, make sure by the end of the evening or at night or the following day, you send a follow-up email thanking them. Keep it very short. Subject can be thank you. Subject can be thank you. Keep it short and to the point. Thank you so much for your time at yesterday's networking event. Really enjoyed speaking to you and learned a lot about, and make it specific. Or you can say, really enjoyed talking to you about Arsenal Football Club and how poorly they're doing, or whatever it might be. Something specific so that individual knows that, oh, it's that person that emailed me, because not everyone is going to remember your face because they've spoken to so many different students. So if you can touch on something specific that you both spoke about in the networking event, they are more likely to remember it was you. Or you say, I was that student that was wearing the red and yellow tie, or something that stands out, and then thank them for the time and then leave it at that. So you're going to follow up with a nice short email. They're likely going to reply and say, pleasure, no problem. They might even say, let's grab a coffee at some point, which is a good win for you. If they don't, leave it at that. 2 or 3 weeks later, reach out to them, go in with another ask. So you can say, hi, blah blah blah, I'm in the process of doing my applications, or I've got interviews coming up, or I've got assessment centers coming up. I would love to, and this is very important, the key is to make it convenient. When you're asking for something, the key is to make it convenient for the person you're asking from. they're doing you the favor of giving you the most valuable thing in the world, which is their time. So make sure you are making it convenient for them. So you say, would love to grab a coffee, or would love to grab you a coffee somewhere near your offices at a time convenient for you. So it's near their offices, convenient for them, and you're saying at time convenient for you, so it's convenient for them. Just like relationship building, just like serving your clients, make it convenient for them. Put them first. So that's very important. So tip number 10 is quality over quantity. Everyone's heard of this saying before, focus on quality over quantity. You don't want to go to a networking event and try and meet every single person there. You want to go and meet as many quality individuals as you can. You don't want a network or connections that are just so many and broad. You don't want quantity, you want a strong quality network. So find people that you are interested in, find people that are interested in things similar to what you're interested in, find people who are in industries and fields that you want to pursue or go into or learn a bit more about. So make sure you prioritize your network around quality over quantity. Alright, tip number 11, dress appropriately. If you haven't already seen my video of what to wear to an interview, feel free to check that out, the link is below. But dress appropriately you don't need to go above and beyond like you're going to an interview. But for networking events, you want to come across like you're dressed professional or relaxed, whichever you feel is right for that event. You want to come across, you're comfortable, you look confident. You don't want to look awkward, you don't want to look uncomfortable, you don't want to look like a mess, because humans, we make judgments, we judge a book by its cover, sad but true, and we make judgments within 30 seconds to a minute of meeting someone. So before you even speak, the person has made a judgment by looking at how you look and dress. So make sure you're dressed appropriately, make sure you look clean, and make sure you look professional. Tip number 12, make sure you're prepared with a few good questions. That could be questions related to, that person's story, their journey, challenges they faced, what do they most like about their current role or their job or their company. If you are talking about work and the company, if it goes in that direction, you can ask those questions. But make sure you're prepared with good questions. For students looking to go into the world of investment banking or any of the city organizations or any corporate profession, an easy way to stand out and ask good questions is making sure your commercial awareness is up to scratch. Make sure you're keeping up with current affairs, what's going on in the news, whether it's Brexit, Trump, China, US trade, whatever it is. Make sure you're up to scratch on your geopolitics, finance news broadly speaking, current affairs going on in the world, because that will help you stand out. And oftentimes these individuals in the world of work, in the world of banking, are up to date with what's going on in the world, and so you can easily have a conversation around current affairs, and that will show them you're switched on. And make sure you have an opinion, don't just have a view. Don't just read articles and read the news and consume it. Make sure you have an opinion. Ask them, what are your thoughts on that? What do you think the implications are going to be for so-and-so country? Make sure you express your opinions and views of articles that you've read, because it shows, you're a deeper thinker rather than a surface level thinker, and that's very important. So make sure you have good questions, and make sure you sell yourself by having interesting and deep conversations, because, intellectual human beings appreciate intellectual conversations, so that's very important. Okay, tip number 13, social media, leverage it, but do it in the right way. You don't want to reach out, and I don't encourage people to network so for professional services like law, banking, etc., you don't want to reach out to employees through Instagram, for example. It makes more sense to do so through LinkedIn. So you might want to reach out to 50 individuals and you'll get a response from about 5. It's a numbers game, right? If I threw a dart on a dartboard, I'm not going to hit bullseye on my first goal. If you gave me 100 darts, I promise you I will hit bullseye at least once. Success is a numbers game. Same thing, LinkedIn, reach out to as many people as you can, and a few of them will reply, and then take those leads in the best way you can and try and get a coffee with them or try and get something beneficial from that, but also give them something back. Now, Instagram is very, very social as opposed to LinkedIn. It's still somewhat professional, so go through LinkedIn, but do it in the right way. When you're reaching out to people, as mentioned before, prioritize their time, make it convenient for them. Don't ask too much. You don't want to send people a LinkedIn message that's so long, because people don't have time to read it. Imagine working for 12 hours to 16 hours a day, and then you've got a long message in your LinkedIn. You're just going to close it. So short, snappy. If you want me to do a LinkedIn hacks or top tips for LinkedIn, or reaching out on LinkedIn, or how to optimize or make a great LinkedIn profile, leave a comment below. and I'll do that in due course. So use LinkedIn and don't use Instagram to reach out to potential connections. Use LinkedIn as it's more professional. Top tip number 14, don't phone people. A lot of students have reached out to me and asked me, you know, if I can find a number or if I can get through to reception of the company, shall I ask the person's name and go and speak to them on the phone while they're at the desk? Personally, I would hate that. If I was at work and some person I've never met called me and wanted to connect and ask me for things, I would tell them, sorry, I'm too busy, and, you know, hang up. Or I would think it's a prank call, or I would think it's one of those PPI insurance, whatever it's, those callers. I wouldn't be receptive to it. I wouldn't encourage it because it's quite invasive. You're kind of going directly to the person's telephone and speaking to them. One, that requires a lot of confidence, and two, it can be quite intrusive. So I would, you know, avoid doing that and focus on LinkedIn and email as your #1 sources for reaching out to people. And last but not least, tip number 15. This is very important because the world has a weird way of giving you good karma and bad karma, and you've probably heard me say this before. The secret to living is giving. So the more you give, naturally the world will pay you back. So tip number 15 is be a connector. Use your network and your connections to help other people. If you can connect one of your friends or someone that's looking to connect with someone else that you know, or you know a person in that position, connect them both together. The best networkers that I know, anyone will tell you who's a good networker or who has strong connections and who gets along with people, will tell you connect people. Be a connector. When you're connecting different people, you're actually broadening your network, because people will talk about you more, they'll think about you more, and they'll see you as a person who they can go to ask to be connected, and in return they will likely connect you when you ask them. So leverage other people's connections by being a connector yourself. Let people leverage your network and your connections. Those were 15 tips for networking. Hopefully you can take some of them away and implement them in your search to finding the right career or the right profession, or building your network, building your connections, or just naturally being a better networker. Now I'm going to leave you with one bonus tip, and that is, more than anything, you want to be yourself. Be yourself, because there's no point faking it. People find out you were putting on an act later on. Just be yourself. Be confident. Practice your introduction, your 30-second pitch in front of a mirror. Practice your exit, requesting business card, whatever it is. Practice in front of a mirror. Practice makes perfect. But yes, most importantly, be yourself. Do give a thumbs up to this video if you enjoyed any of it. If you found any of it useful, feel free to share it with your network, and do subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for watching, and I will be back with another video on Wednesday. If you've got any video suggestions, leave them in the comments below, or follow me on Instagram, where you can choose which video I will upload next. Thanks for watching, and take care. Peace!